Supernatural Season 12, Episode 2, Mamma Mia. This is a really cool episode. Mostly the ending. I really love the ending, and I think some of the dialogue in here was actually pretty fun. But for the most part, I thought it was a good episode. I think what I really enjoyed the most, honestly, I think was like the Lucifer, Crowley, Rowena side of it, and then the other stuff, with the Winchester family. That I think had good dialogue, but I didn't really enjoy it as much. I was like, okay, some of this stuff I really like. It was mostly like the comedic parts that I enjoyed from their storyline, and then the ending, which is a phenomenal ending to the episode. But it starts off pretty simple. It starts off kind of weird because it starts off with like the whatever is happening with Sam and Lady Bevel, as they call her. She's like messing with his mind, and so they're kind of sleeping together in his head, and she's trying to get the information out of him. And once again, going just like the first episode, it's kind of weird because like, oh, she's doing this thing where she's kind of sleeping with him and stuff, so it's much nicer for him. And there was this whole element of, that was kind of like his whole argument in the first episode. It's like, the first thing you did was you came into the bunker, you send out Cass, and you point a gun at me. You don't want to do this the right way. Like, that's very obvious. So to have that scene not only be sort of awkward because it's them, sleeping together, which may or may not be them foreshadowing what's going to happen in the future, which I hope it doesn't happen because my girlfriend's like, we know they're going to get together, and I'm hoping she's wrong because I'm like, I kind of feel that way too, but I'm hoping that they don't end up together, not because I kind of don't like her, mostly because of how this whole thing started where it doesn't make sense why she's doing this, but I don't want it to be that sort of super obvious thing either, where it's like, he ends up with the person that's like, especially after what she did, I'm hoping that they don't somehow end up together with, the stuff with them messing with his mind and all this other crazy stuff. I'm really hoping they don't somehow work through this and end up as a couple. But the way it starts off is like, alright, they're sort of sleeping together, but not really. It's all in his head. And she's trying to get the answers out of him. Of course, he eventually breaks out of that, and she can't do it again. And she mentions like, oh, your brain will liquefy. That was like one of the cool things I liked. That was, like I said, the comedic dialogue and like the ending I really enjoyed. But once again, they introduced some new stuff in this episode. Because that's some sort of crazy spell. They had the sigil. They made like yet another new sigil where Dean shows up, and I'm assuming what happened because they cut to commercial. But I'm assuming what happened was it teleported him into the house. And that's when she like handcuffed him, or maybe he was already, it was like a whole thing where it teleports him and he's handcuffed automatically. And I kind of just wish they showed it because he didn't get teleported into the basement. He got teleported somewhere else in the house, or he was just trapped outside. But they kind of just left it open. Like, I assumed it was going to teleport him straight into the basement and he'd instantly be trapped down there. And, maybe something else, like he would automatically be in chains. Like, it's a new spell. They could literally make it whatever they want. But it was like, like a whole light shows up and then cuts to commercial and it comes back. And she kind of just pulls him from the side like, boom, look at him. He's handcuffed. And I think he was cuffed to his feet as well because it looked like he was walking with her when she like first pulled him. But then when he was on the hook, it was just normal, just simple handcuffs. So I was like, I could have sworn he had like the full thing where he like went all the way down to his feet. Because that was why he wasn't able to fight her in the first place. Because otherwise he could have just put the handcuffs right over her neck. So I think that's how it was when he was on the stairs going down. And then I guess she undid that and it was just his hands afterwards. Because I'm pretty sure the way he was moving, he was like cuffed all the way down and it was attached to his leg. So he couldn't lift his arms like past his chest. Which I guess in a sense that still would have worked because she's so much shorter than him. But anyway, he gets captured and it's basically so that, their mom could come in. But they showed us some new spells, which I thought was pretty cool. The one spell that didn't make a lot of sense was, of course, like the Chinese mental choking spell thing, because she can't die because it would still keep going, but somehow knocking her out didn't keep it going. It didn't make a lot of sense. Also, the spell itself was super simple. Like, considering what she did, which was literally like, let me just cut my hand, and she basically imbued herself with the Force from Star Wars, and she just was like force choking their mom. I'm like, man, if Dean knew that, he should have been whipping that out a long freaking time ago, because I can think of quite a few situations where they were dealing with some people, like when he was dealing with the Steins. Probably a couple of situations in there where he could just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna choke you and then just shoot you while you're standing in the corner, and then I'll just shoot you while you're frozen in place because you're choking to death, I guess. So very simple spell, but odd conclusion because you would think being knocked out would have the same result as being dead because it's kind of the same state in a sense. You're unconscious, you're gone, you can't physically or mentally, maintain the spell. Shouldn't matter if you died, but she gets knocked out. This new guy, Mick, comes in and he's like, hey, this was crazy. Sorry, it's all good. I got the warnings off, so, that's how your attack dog could come in here. Everything's fine. This isn't how we wanted to do things. She kind of just went off the rails. And then it kind of makes it really weird why she went off the rails. Like, does she have some sort of personal vendetta against them that we maybe don't know about just yet? Or I'm hoping, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because it was already dumb to begin with that she was following. Well, we find she's not following, actually. We find out that that's not even what was supposed to happen, because that's how it started off. Like, oh, she's following this plan to go after Sam and Dean to get, info on other hunters in America. And it was like, okay, that's her plan. She's already going about it in like the craziest way possible by just being so hostile towards them, instead of just saying, hey, Men of Letters, British chapter, we want to basically make America as safe as, we've made Britain over all this time, where the hunters work for us. It's just everything's warded, all this other stuff. It's super safe and super amazing, basically. And it's like, okay, she's following her orders. She's doing it really crappy. So it starts off already on a bad note, where it's like, this doesn't make sense why she's doing it in such a bad way. And then this Mick guy comes in and is like, yeah, we never wanted it to be this way. She kind of went off, a little bit further than we wanted her to, or like way further. And it's like, well, what the heck then? Like, how does, considering all the talk they had in the last episode, like, oh, we've kept all of Britain safe for this long, and, everything's like clockwork, everything's this, and this. Somebody, a demon comes in, they're caught within 20, killed within 40, clean up the mess, dump the body, everything's fantastic. And yet she can just hop over, on the plane, go to America, and just go crazy for like a day and a half or something. And they're like, yeah, sorry guys, not really what we wanted, meh, we kind of sent her over, because I was pretty sure in the finale of the last season, she got like a phone call, if I remember right, like somebody actually did call her. So I don't, it's kind of hard. Maybe they just said that, and maybe there's some other really secret plan that they aren't saying. They're just kind of sending mixed signals at this point. It's really hard to tell, but something's happening, because they call in the crazy assassin dude. The guy's like, oh yeah, I already called him in, and the only reason to call him in was to do something bad. So there's something going on there that they're making it seem like this isn't supposed to be how it is, but clearly something's happening the way they want it to happen. So I don't know what it is. It's very confusing at this point, where it's like she goes and does all this torture stuff. He comes in as like, the good guy, like, hey, this wasn't supposed to happen like this. And then he calls in the crazy assassin guy to do something crazy. So something is supposed to be the way, something is going the way it's supposed to go. They're just throwing out a bunch of mixed signals, and it's a little confusing at this point. So I'm excited to get some answers on that, because right now it's just really weird. But going through all that, they have their moment. Sam, of course, gets to see his mother for kind of basically the first time. Well, they had like the heaven stuff and all that, but he really gets to see her. He's kind of blown away. He finds out that Dean's alive, because yeah, he didn't know that he was alive either. So Dean's alive. Holy crap, our mother's alive. So he has, a bit of an adjustment, and they have a ton of great moments in this. Like I said, the comedic stuff was really good, and the serious stuff was good as well, because they had Dean early on when he calls Cass, and Cass is just like, okay, I don't really know how to help you, but his advice, which was actually good advice, don't make things needlessly more complicated, as you humans tend to do. And then we have, towards the end of the episode, which was hilarious, when he's like, yeah, you were such a great cook, and she was like, oh no, I was terrible. I don't cook. And he's like, what about your meatloaf? It was amazing. Like, oh, Piggly Wiggly. And he's just like, it just like shattered one of his like childhood memories. Like, holy crap. She never cooked. I love that. I thought that was like mom's thing. I was like, no, I just picked that up from this store. So that was really funny. Him eating the pie was hilarious. Like, I was cracking up during that scene because he was just destroying that pie. And then he ate like a couple of big scoops, and he turns to Sam. He's like, "You want some?" And he just had that big piece of pie on his lip. It was just really funny. So that was a hilarious little scene. And then, of course, they have the ending portion of the episode when Sam goes to his mom. That was a phenomenal way to end the episode off. Where it's like, this is Dad's journal. Which they haven't pulled out in a little minute. So it's like, this is Dad's journal. You kind of go through this and kind of get a little bit of a history as to what we've been going through for the past while, really since you've been gone. This is a big chunk of what we went through, the journal. So that was really cool. She gets the journal, she goes through and looks at some old pictures and stuff, and they just have a really great moment. Especially like that whole scene was just great. Like, he comes in and Sam's super excited and happy in the beginning, and like kind of nervous and stuff, and then by the end he's just really emotional and happy, and so they hug, and it was just a really cool moment. Everyone has their little bit of reflection, and she's looking through the journal, and Sam's he's just looking up at the ceiling fan. It was very simple, but he's just kind of thinking like, man, I've got my mom back and I've got my brother back at the same time. It's like I got two people that I thought were gone forever, and his mom basically has been gone forever. Considering his life happened when he was a baby. So for him, he basically has two people that he thought were gone forever. One of which was gone pretty much forever. So it was really cool. And then, of course, they have Dean, and he's just going through, like, old pictures and stuff. And it's like, man, we've got 3 members of our family again. It's kind of like, earlier seasons, but a bit happier because she is actually around, I guess. And that was a thing that kind of came up where they talk about their dad, where she's like, he was a really great father. And it's like, man, he was cool when he wasn't a hunter, I'm sure, but things changed when she died. And they slightly mention it, but they don't talk about how deep, it truly was. And they don't really go into the specifics. Like, they kind of mention, like, oh, like I said, it was really simple. It was like, oh, yeah, Sam had a time, way out, but, Dad went missing, so we found out that we really just had each other. And that was pretty much it. And that's kind of how it started. But they don't get into a lot of the specifics. There was a ton of stuff there about why he stayed and the issues that remained, within that family, and the stuff that happened when he got the chance to leave, and how, we instantly see, like, oh, their mom was super happy. Like, oh, it sucks that he had the chance, but it, didn't work out. But if she knew the specifics, I think she'd have a very different feeling about it, because it wasn't just, oh, he got out of that, he came back because of their dad. But there was a lot there where their dad kind of, he didn't hate him, but that was kind of like the whole thing for like the first couple of seasons. They kind of just fought and fought and fought. So I'm assuming that'll come up at some point where it's like they just had their moments. They just didn't work for them. So I'm kind of excited to see that play out. But the other big chunk of this episode, of course, was Lucifer coming back. Crowley, Rowena, and Lucifer. It was cool to see Rowena come in, and she's trying to bamboozle some random dude who's single and super loaded, and she wants to just go off and kind of leave the whole magical life behind and just be rich and outlive this guy and take all his money. Crowley comes in and is like, hey, Mom, kind of need you. Got to find the devil. He's hopping all over the freaking place. Need you. Need a spell so we can get rid of him. And I gotta admit, I like what they did with the devil. That was something I was curious about. Like, okay, how's this gonna work? Are they gonna have the same mannerisms? Is it gonna be like when Cass was possessed by the devil? It would just be a different actor doing kind of the same thing, or will it change? And I thought they might change it because it's a new actor and he's gonna be taking over at least for a little bit. And I like what they did. He was very serious, and they got real gross during the scene when he got hit with the acid. I thought that was pretty sweet, to be totally honest. I was like, man, that'd be... They of course they didn't even do it, but I was like, man, it would be kind of nuts if he didn't even bother healing it, just to have like a creepy look on his face like the whole season. Like, you know what? I'm the devil. I should look messed up. And he just has a burnt up face the whole thing. That would kind of would have been sweet. But they throw the acid on him, burn him. He kind of looks like Jonah Hex for anyone who might know comics. So he's all burnt up and stuff, and it's like, you know, we'll destroy your vessel, and then we can basically cast your essence into the cage, and that doesn't really work so well. And I like what they did, where we got to see, of all angels, we got to see the devil, you know, do his sort of angel thing and with the wings and stuff, and he heals his face up and stuff, and I was like, that's actually really cool. And it was just interesting to see that. It was like he kind of had to really use a lot of his power. So much of his power that he had to, you know, do the whole glowing angel thing. And I was like, that's pretty cool. We've never had to see him actually utilize that. So it was kind of sweet to see that. Of course it happens, and he uses so much of his angelic power that he's able to break free from Rowena's spell. So of course Crowley's like, well, time for me to snap my fingers and vanish. And Rowena gets screwed over. You know, it's like, man, that really sucks for her. She's a villain. But it's like, man, that still kind of sucks. She wants to take off, and her son is just like, well, see you, Mom, and he bolts. So now she's a prisoner again, and maybe she'll be doing some more spells for the devil. I'm excited to see how they utilize him, though. I mean, I guess his plan is just to be the devil, which I guess is just chaos. So I guess it could still work, but he's always had such a specific plan, which I mentioned, you know, in my last review. He's always kind of had a very specific reason, and at this point it's like, well, now he just has a new vessel. He's kind of just living. He's just kind of being the devil, and I don't know if they'll go back to it, but I was kind of excited when Crowley mentioned his whole idea. You know, it was kind of a ploy, but his whole thing of having Lucifer go back to heaven and rule heaven, and then he leaves Crowley so that he can be the king of hell again. I thought that was a cool idea. I don't know if somehow they could end up bonding or getting over their very serious issues, and it's like, hey, I think I will take over heaven and you can have hell. But I doubt it, but that would be a pretty awesome idea. I don't know if that could ever happen, and maybe if they do it, they'll do it for the next season. But I thought that was pretty sweet. I was like, that would actually be a cool concept if, for whatever reason, Lucifer was like, sure, and they actually teamed up to, like, open up heaven and, you know, get Lucifer back in there so that he could take over, and then he lets Crowley run hell. But I just thought, like, I don't think it'll happen, like I said, but I was like, that would actually be a really interesting concept to see the two of them truly work together against Sam and Dean and all of humanity and the angels as well. So don't know if that's a hint. We should be waiting for that, you know, next season or what. But I was like, man, that would actually be a great concept to see Lucifer and Crowley finally team up for real and just be like two really, really bad guys trying to not only, I mean, considering Lucifer, I would assume he'd try to bring about the end of days again, but at least the main thing would be like, alright, let's break you into heaven, get rid of a bunch of angels, and then have you control the rest of them while we deal with Sam, Dean, a bunch of other hunters, possibly British branch of the Men of Letters as well. But if it does happen, I would not hate that whatsoever. Excited to see what they do with Lucifer, because he seems very dark in this, which I don't mind. You know, Lucifer's always been jokey and dark, but got a new actor, they can go full dark, and I think it should work. It's Lucifer. I think I might be able to understand that concept. So, excited to see what they do with them. Excited to see the family dynamic, of course, continue to grow in this season, and, you know, see what happens. You know, we got Sam, Dean, you know, Mama Winchester, which I'm excited to see where they take that. And of course we got Cass. You know, they didn't give them a moment in this episode, kind of like they did in the last episode, where it's like, you know, you got two people kind of out of touch a little bit. But maybe we'll get some time with that, and we'll just have to wait and see what we get. But really enjoyed this episode as far as, you know, the Lucifer stuff, the actual Winchester side. The dialogue was great, ending was phenomenal. Just, it was really the Men of Letters. It wasn't the Winchester stuff that was the problem. It was the Men of Letters stuff that was the problem. The spells were awesome because we got some new stuff again. But then it's just like random stuff that just doesn't seem to mix together or make any sense. And it's like, there's something good in there somewhere. But for now, it's just confusing. This is what we thought was happening. This is how it played out, which is already bad with, you know, just the way she was getting info. And then none of that was even supposed to happen to begin with. And now they've called in the assassin guy, which I don't understand why they would need to call him if they're still just trying to get information. And I'm still trying to figure out what this woman's position is, because the guy calls her, like Lady Bevel. I don't know if that's just to be, prim and proper, like super generic British. But considering they say that, it makes it seem like she has a much higher position than... She doesn't seem like the type of person that needs to actually take orders based on how everyone calls her, lady. They would just say her name or something. But I feel like because they put lady in front of it, she has some important position. Or maybe she's related to someone. Maybe she's, it's sort of a legacy type of thing. Where it's like, okay, she gets that huge amount of respect because of her lineage or something like that. It's hard to tell. It's just like, she goes off the handles, but they don't really reprimand her too much. It's just like, leave, and that's it. That's not a big deal. So I feel like there's something in there where she's important, or is the descendant of someone who's really important as far as the men of letters. That person, it could still be alive. It could like be your grandfather or grandmother or something. And they're just like super huge. They killed a buttload of demons or something crazy like that. And it's super simple. But I have to see how it plays out. But I still enjoyed the episode. Excited for the Lucifer stuff. Excited for more family stuff. Of course, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I want to know what you guys think is going to happen with the men of letters. Because at this point, I'm just kind of confused. They didn't want her to do that. She went off the rails. She kind of got reprimanded. They called in the assassin guy, who I thought was only meant to torture other people. So unless he's coming in to start torturing demons or something to get information on where hunters are, who knows what the case is. They also mentioned, Ruby and Benny, which I thought was cool. But another thing they mentioned that I never even considered myself really was bad hunters. We've seen it before, like with the one dude who turned into a vampire and stuff. But what if there are a bunch of hunters that are like, alright, yeah, I'll work with demons to have a deal. I won't become a demon, but I'll rat out other hunters to get rid of them, and then I get some sort of rewards. I think that's a cool concept too. That's something they never truly touched on. We've had like bad hunters and stuff. Like I said, the vampire guy. We got a little bit of that with Soulless Sam, when we kind of went into like some of the deeper stuff where, they were like kidnapping alphas and they were keeping some secrets. But nothing really just like, yep, I'm working with demons. There are hunters here, here, and here. So if they go with that route, I think that could be pretty fun to watch as well. And it might be pretty interesting. But I want to know where you guys think this Men of Letters stuff is headed. Your theories on it, what you like about it, don't like about it so far. And of course, I want to know what you thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.